So in this game, The Park, it's basically a very more dark, very depressing type game that I would say that I would recommend you play it. I would get it on as a deal because, well, it's very short, very short. It can be done in about, I'd say, an hour or so. But a game that is worth taking notice and is worth possibly playing, or maybe even just watching the whole gameplay of it. Before the game starts, it recommends that you play in the dark, and it's best played with headphones, and also it can cause the whole experience that you play become to, well, be depressing.
Where's Mr.
So at the start of
Bear?
it, this is
I
Lorraine
haven't seen Mr. Bear,
Mallard.
Callum.
Now, your task is to go into the entrance of the park and retrieve Mr. Bear, your son Callum's lost teddy bear, and that's pretty much what you can do.
Stay in the car.
There's a lot of
Go
stuff
and
to
ask
do in this
information.
park. Pretty much you just go around, ride rides, and, well, try to find Mr. Bear as what you truly is the objective of it. Before you get to the entrance, however, you start to have a hallucination, and you start to, well, you can feel like Lorraine does not really wanting to go in there. And so your friend right here, he says, don't worry, people always lose stuff, and where was the last place you saw your son's teddy bear and all that? So before you can answer, your son Callum runs into the park, and, well, like any person who would just call security to get the kid, he wants you to go through because there's nobody else, I guess, at all. So you walk into the entrance of the park then.
There's something special
Once you get
about
there,
the entrance to
you
an
take up the
amusement park.
escalator and you can see your son. I don't know
Line drawn
why she
between
would
the
just
real
run up
world
to
and the
grab
world of
him,
whimsy
but
within.
the hesitation that she
On
has
this
really
side,
doesn't,
the apathy of our
I don't know, it
everyday
just
lives.
holds her back and
And on the
everything.
other,
And
anything we might dare to
you
dream.
get to learn more about her, of all the
It's no
stuff that's
wonder Callum
inside.
ran back
And
inside.
basically with this, it's a
Wouldn't wanna leave
representation
either.
that on the other side of the park, when you get into the park, it's all like this elusive dream, you know, like a fantasy type. And then when you're outside of the park, it's the haunting, painful reality of life. So there are two sides where you can be in a whimsical dream or be on the outside of the area and just be in the reality
Wait
of the
for
life
Mommy,
as
Callum.
it is. So once you get up more, it just becomes dark all of a sudden, and, well, Callum is in your eyesight. However,
God.
he
The
is
park.
just running off like an
What
imbecile,
happened here?
and you have to just go and catch him. So isn't that lovely? So I can see right there he goes, runs off into there,
Wait for
and you
Mommy.
get a glimpse of the House of Horrors, which you will have to go at the end. And it is a very place where you will start to question and figure out what this whole game is pretty
Come
much
to
all
Mommy,
about.
Callum.
But for right now, we're not going there yet. We have to go and chase Callum. And there's some crows, lovely crows, aren't they?
I think this belongs to Callum.
You then stumble upon a shoe, which is to believe Callum's shoe. I don't know why Callum would lose a shoe. And then you first meet the statue of Chad the Chipmunk. A very, I would say, iconic
Wait for
character
Mommy.
in this game.
Over here.
Chad is a lovely one. I can see the restaurant right there. But before you go to anything else, you explore the Swan Pond, in which you learn the timeless tale of Hansel and Gretel. A more, in this game, a more darker version of it, I would say. So when you get to the Swan Pond, Callum is already in a boat ahead of you, and you tell him just to stay put and everything. So you get into a boat and follow him, and you would just simply have to enjoy the ride of it while you listen to the tale of Hansel and Gretel. As you explore the depths of this whole scary tale, you eventually learn about the history of Hansel and Gretel. I'm pretty sure you guys haven't really listened to that tale in such a long time, so it's a great brush of memory, I would say. Throughout the course of it, you will see a mysterious figure in the shadows. You can see him just right there in the corner of your eye, and once you pass by him, he will eventually look at you and just stare at you menacingly, and he will be popping up very quite soon, more and more often. As you can see, Chad the Chipmunk right there, just standing there and just looking dead in your eyesight with those glowing, beaming red lights that he has. And you start to hallucinate again, and when you pass by, the boat begins to shake and everything. And, well, a really quite big antagonist. As you get to the end, the ending of this Hansel and Gretel story is that the kids actually ate the witch. Because, well, kids can't only survive off of sweets. Very charming, I would say, ending to this tale, but it's not as darker as the Brothers Grimm, I would say. So as you continue to go and you're about to reach the pier where you first started off, this Aflac duck just turns and looks at you. Again, you are hallucinating, but just a really ominous feeling that you receive when this duck just turns and he looks at you and turns it back, you know. Very spooky feeling, I would say. Eventually you will come up to this park ranger car. As you open the door, you'll see Mr. Bear and a note. I forgot what the note was saying, but it basically said that how this park became to how it grew from this guy who had the idea of opening up on this abandoned island. And personally, I wish he wouldn't have had, because this park is pretty much boring, I would say. Later on, you'd come up into the Octagon, and as you examine that report, basically what happened is that Chad the Chipmunk was working on an ice sculpture, and these teenagers came by and was insulting the ice because it looked like a head of somebody. The chipmunk, the guy in the suit, Chad, eventually snapped, and he began to stab one of the teenagers with the ice pick. Very, very, very dark, and, well, park ruining for the whole, you know, imagination, dreamlike thing that this park is going. But, yeah, so the park had shut down, and a file was complained about the whole thing. I mean, why wouldn't there be? It's, pretty dark for a guy in a suit to do, I would say. You're able to go onto the park ride, the Octagon. The I forgot what it was called, but something like that. And you were able to ride it. Now, just a little nice thing that happens as you just bounce up and down on the car while the octopus swings you around and around. And you get to see how the park looks like. However, unfortunately, the park has to make it, well, not enjoyable. The ride gets faster and faster, and as you can see when you pass by the booth, you can see somebody in the booth operating it. You can't really see who it is, but you see a mysterious figure in there, and then you pass by and see this lovely fellow with a big, huge mouth and thousands of teeth, I would say. You pass by him twice, and then he just disappears and everything. You can still see the guy in the booth, but then the ride stops, and you act as if nothing has happened. Quite disturbing, I would say, and you just brush it off like, oh, okay. Then you come across the bumper cards. The bumper cards are very a flashback type thing of what has happened to your I would say protagonist, the person you play as, Lorraine, and it's actually pretty quite disturbing. I mean, this whole game is I'm saying that word over and over again. Basically, when you examine this device, as you can see, she gets a flashback to what has happened to her, and well, I'll leave it as that.
It's a matter of public record that I am a failure as a mother. Once, when Callum was very small, I left him asleep in the car while I ran an errand. Don't even remember what it was.
After doing some parts, you come across this, and you head up the stairs, lighted to you by the bumper card that is just right there. As you head up the stairs, you receive a backstory to Lorraine and her, how she ended up there.
On the notepad. When he gave it to me, our eyes met. I know what you're going through. My daughter, Helen, she just gets some help. Help was a bolt of lightning. Help was 1,000 volts surging through my veins. Help is agony. I'd rather die. I wanted to scream. I'd rather you pulled your gun and shot me. But instead my mouth said, yes, Sheriff. Kissed. It felt like love. It felt like a fairy tale.
As you continue, you come across a Ferris wheel, which plays a vital role in the whole situation of how Lorraine is and why she is like this. You decrease
one
the speed so
perfect
you're able
night.
to ride it and learn more about the
Don and I
history of
moved in
her.
together, but
And you learn a
then,
lot about her. I will not tell you what you
he
learn,
died.
and I will cut the video right here.
According to the
But
supervisor, his
you
safety
do learn
harness failed
quite a
when he was
bit
working on the
of
top
her
of the
story.
Ferris wheel. Don was there one moment, and then gone. Sometimes people leave your life for no reason. I was 3 months pregnant with Callum. Fairy tale fucking over.
The part